This session is part of the 7th Plural Positivity World Conference. Want to ask your questions to the presenters? Join us May 24th and 25 live in Airmeet for exclusive Q&As and connection. Use code PPWC25 for 25% off. Link in the description.
Today, I would like to talk with you about BDSM for plural people and how to do it. So we will talk about communication, healthy sexuality, taboo, trauma, and different tools that can maybe help you. So if you are plural or if you want to do BDSM with a partner that is plural, maybe this video will help you. Before starting, I would just like to give you a trigger warning because we will talk here a lot about some BDSM practices. We'll talk about trauma. We'll talk about like little and other part or alter that you can have. So here, you know, it's your trigger warning. Please take care of you. And if you don't feel comfortable to listen to this session, it's okay. Before starting, I will present myself. So who are we? You will see that I'm used to use the pronoun I or like we. Sometimes I mix it. I'm sorry. My pronoun are she, her for the host. So Debora. And the name of the system is Debora too. It's just a coincidence. First, professionally speaking, I am a BDSM and self-alignment coach. Self-alignment is a part of personal development. So, for example, it's about first knowing who you are and then align who you are with the rest of your domain of life, sexuality, profession, like your job, and a lot of things. BDSM is a part of sexuality where you can have like words like kink and fetish, and BDSM is B for saying like bondage, D for domination or discipline, S for submission or sadism, and M for masochism. So just for you to know, English, it's not my first language at all. So I know I will do some mistake while I'm talking. I hope you can be kind with me. I'm sorry in advance. In a personal point of view, we are a DID system and we are around like 40 alters in total, but only like 15 that we really know. And inside these 15 alters, we have 3 alters that are in a BDSM dynamic relationship. And inside these 3 alters that are in a BDSM relationship, there is 2 alters that are in a master-slave dynamic 24/7. That means all the time. These 2 alters are probably the one that will be speaking today. So one is Debora and the second one is Ellie. And usually when I talk about these topics, Ellie has the tendency to come. She's a coach too. So maybe we will help each other. Who knows? Now that my presentation is done, let's continue with the topic of today. So I wanted to start by explaining why is it so hard to start BDSM as plural people, like a system when we are in link with multiplicity. Why is it so hard? Do you have an idea? So the first reason, the main reason is because it mixes 2 complex subjects. The first subject is plurality and the second complex subject is BDSM. And these 2 complex subjects have bad representation online, on the mainstream media. So I'm almost sure that a lot of people think about like Split, the movie, for a not really good representation of DID or multiplicity in general. And usually when we talk about BDSM, we think about 50 Shades of Grey, that again, it's a bit the same things as Split. It was good to have this representation in the mainstream place because it gives like people that can be interested in BDSM or that feel maybe they have plurality inside them. Like, okay, it exists and there is a representation and maybe it will help people to go dig a bit deeper inside these 2 topics. But at the same time, it doesn't represent really the complexity of these 2 topics. And we can feel a bit, if I go outside of these boxes, I am not legit, or I feel I'm not doing things in a normal way. And I'm here to tell you today that it's not true. So these 2 complex subjects together, you can imagine how hard is it to have a good representation and feel normal and just know how to start as a plural people into BDSM. I wanted to add that because English it's not my first language, I'm so sorry if sometimes I'm not that inclusive. I'm trying to do the best I can, and let's continue. This representation, this bad representation has a lot of negative impact, and we will see some of them together. The first one being insecurity. Of course, if you don't feel like all your feeling or all your desire of all your need are represented, you will feel like, maybe I don't know how to put myself in a secure safe, in a secure environment. Maybe I am feeling that it's not secure in an external point of view, like your room, your partner, how to communicate, how to practice, but an internal point of view too, how the alter will, or the parts of you will be taking care, or how we will just feel secure inside, like, okay, I can do that. I'm able to do it, and I'm able to do it in a secure environment. The second negative impact, of course, it's all in link with consent. We will talk about consent more deeply in the rest of the presentation. But in general, in this representation, in a mainstream way, we don't talk a lot about consent, and even less consent for plural people. Usually it's just like, okay, we want to do that and let's do it. And everyone's agree with it because like it's a movie, but in the reality, it's a lot more complex than that. Of course, one of the negative impact can be the lack of communication. We are not used to see people in this representation communicate about what they are feeling, what they are needing. We don't have representation about plural people communicating what they are feeling inside the BDSM session. It's really not common. Actually, when I say BDSM session, I'm talking about a moment of sexuality that involves BDSM. But of course, if you are on a dynamic that it's 24/7, your BDSM can be explored outside of this session. Here, it's really the sexual part of it. So we are not used to have a lot of representation of communication, and this can put people in a place where they feel communication is not normal, or even if it's normal, we don't know how to communicate. Of course, one of the negative impact is that people sometimes start BDSM and they don't know how to manage themselves or like just the BDSM topic. So they put themselves on a place where we re-traumatize ourselves. And this is one of the main fear a lot of plural people have when we talk about BDSM and starting BDSM. And I want to tell you that it's normal to have this fear, but there is solution. Of course, one of the things I see a lot inside my coaching with a lot of coaching, with a lot of followers too, is that we want to start too fast. And I understand sexuality is fun. Our body is telling ourselves that it can be really good. Maybe there is alter that are even sexual alter that really want to go inside it. They feel like it's their role, it's their mission. But actually, we can start really too fast. And I'm here to tell you that it's not just about like, I know what BDSM is. I know what means the letter BDSM. So let's do it. There is a lot of education that are important. And that's one of the points. It's the lack of education. Of course, if we don't have a lot of representation, that means we don't have a lot of education about these topics. The topics of plurality, system, multiplicity, of course, but the topic of BDSM, kink, and fetish too. So mix them together and you don't have a lot of education on the topic. Of course, here today on the Plural Positivity World Conference, we have a bit more education about plurality, but I wish we could have the same level inside the BDSM community and inside the community just of neurodivergent people. Of course, one of the things that is really hard is to have a good amount of professional support when we talk about BDSM and plurality. I can see that with this bad representation, we don't have, as a professional person, a lot of representation of how to help people, plural people that want to start BDSM, kink, or fetish. In the professional point of view, we miss representation, but in the client or coachee or patient point of view, you miss a lot of representation of what is it to be helped in a professional way in these two topics. So sometimes we can feel like a lot of shame of first talking about our plurality with a professional, but we can feel a lot of shame about talking about BDSM and our desire in bondage, domination, submission, all of these things too. So again, when we mix the two together, it can be really hard to imagine to go in a session of therapy or in a session of coaching and say like, I am plural and I have desire for BDSM, fetish, and kink, and I don't want to be judged for that. I don't want to have the fear of saying that. And sadly, today, it's not really a reality. So again, I just hope that we will have more and more professional support accessible for everyone. And the last negative impact, it's of course negatively triggering some alter. If we don't know how to take care of BDSM for plural people, we take the risk of triggering alters in a negative way. Again, as I say, re-traumatize them, traumatize them, or even just put on the front alter that are not supposed to be here during this session, but they are here because they were negatively triggered, because we need protection, because we need like a lot of things that, again, the risk exists. And if we have better representation, maybe we will know better how to take care of that. And we are here today for that. So let's continue. I wanted to talk to you about 3 common mistakes when talking about multiplicity and BDSM. The first mistake is thinking that you have to know everything about your system to get started in BDSM in a healthy way. Here I am addressing myself to the perfectionist people in the audience that are feeling I need to know everything about everyone, about everywhere, and like this, I will be safe and secure, and maybe I can start BDSM. I see again in my coaching and in my audience a lot of people, and a lot of plural people too, that feel this perfectionism will help them to not take risk, because it's known. If we know everything about everyone and about everywhere, of course, we will not have bad experiences. And the reality is not that true. First, you cannot know everything about your system and yourself because you are growing, you are evolving, alters and parts of you are growing and evolving too. When you will explore BDSM, you will grow and evolve, and you will discover while you are doing it too, and you will discover yourself through this time. So if you are asking yourself to know everything, you are just telling yourself that you will never live the sexual life that you desire because you will never start it. And that's sad. And I see a lot of people too that in my audience again, that are just taking all the information they can. Like, I will read all the books possible. I will watch all the formation possible. I will take all the coaching possible. And when I will be perfect, I will be able to start in a practical way. I'm just here to tell you, you need to know enough. You need to know enough, of course, about yourself and BDSM to start in a healthy way, but you don't need to know everything. And here today, I will tell you what's the minimum amount of things you need to know about yourself, your system, and BDSM to start in a healthy way. The second common mistake when talking about multiplicity and BDSM is thinking that all you have to do is jump in, test it, and pray that everything goes well. So I'm doing a bit the contrary of what I just said. You cannot go on the other extreme too and just tell you, I don't need to know anything, and let's just try it. A lot of time I see people having one opportunity to jump in and to start BDSM, and they have like FOMO, they have the fear of missing out. They think like, okay, it's my only opportunity. If I don't do BDSM in this BDSM club, in this sex positive event with this partner today, I will never have the opportunity again. So let's just jump in, test it, and pray that everything goes well. The majority of time when this happens, not everything goes well, and we don't know how to take care of it. Please just remind yourself that you have time. You have your full life to explore BDSM and your system. There is no rush. We can take our time and try to balance a bit between knowing everything and never starting, and knowing anything and starting directly. And the last common mistakes when talking about multiplicity and BDSM that I wanted to talk to you about today, it's thinking that your attraction to BDSM necessarily comes from your traumas and that you should be ashamed of it. We will see today on the last part of this video that it's not that easy. It's not that straightforward. If your attraction for BDSM come from your trauma, it can be okay if we know how to take care of it. If it doesn't come from your trauma, it can be okay too. And if anything, like no matter the option, you should not be ashamed of it. I'm not telling you that it's not normal to feel shame. Of course, you can feel shame, and I understand it. I'm just telling you that it's not a rule. It's not because it comes from your trauma that you should feel ashamed. And it's not because you are attracted to BDSM that necessarily it comes from your trauma, neither. So here it's 3 common mistakes when talking about multiplicity and BDSM. I hope it opened a bit some doors for us to dig a bit more into the rest of the presentation. So getting started in a healthy way, getting started healthily into BDSM. How we do that? The first things, the most important things, it's to define what healthy means for you and your system. I'm here to remind you that definition like healthy, it's not the same for everyone. If we evaluated it in an individual or collective or political point of view, we will not have the same answer. I will give you a metaphor for you to get the concept. It's a metaphor that talks about food, relationship with food, and a relationship with sport and movement. So if you don't feel comfortable about this topic and you can be triggered by this topic, please, let's move on. So for example, in a political point of view, we will tell you that having a healthy diet or having a healthy relationship with sport will be to eat 5 fruit and vegetable per day, will be to maybe walk 10,000 steps per day, going to the sport like an hour and a half per week, and that you should eat fish and meat or like every other day. I don't know. In a political point of view, you will have like these rules that if we evaluate them in a collective point of view, we will not have the same rule. Imagine that we want to evaluate what means healthy movement and diet for your group of people on the gym. Maybe for them, being healthy will mean to go to the gym 5 times a week, 1 hour per day, and to eat in a calorie deficiency point of view, like a diet where you eat less calorie that you consume. And maybe they will have like other rule, like eating no meat, no fish, and only white eggs every morning. I don't know. And again, in an individual point of view, we will define what's healthy diet or relationship with sport and movement as if I can go out every day, it's already amazing. And if I just eat 2 or 3 times a day, I'm healthy. So it's the same for BDSM and kink and fetish. What means healthy in a political point of view, collective, or individual point of view will not be the same. Again, I would like you to take a time to think what means a healthy BDSM for you and for different parts of you. If you have a time to talk about your system, just about this question, it's already amazing. And maybe you will tell yourself, a healthy BDSM for me, it's a BDSM with one partner that know all the system and that we will just explore the submission in my room because I feel safe in my room. And someone else, healthy BDSM will be like BDSM that I explore only when I go to a party with like people that I didn't know from before, but that I have like a safe word with them and that I feel comfortable to explore domination only with them. Again, take a time, I will drink, and while I drink, you think about this. And now we will continue about getting started safely. Let's continue with getting started safely. So in the same way, we need to define what does safe mean to you. Again, like being healthy, a healthy BDSM, a healthy dynamic inside this kink world can mean something for someone and for one system, but feeling safe can be another thing. And feeling safe, again, can be like in your inside world, with yourself, with the part of you, or outside too. So I will give you some words that can maybe help you to define what means safe for you. Again, it's a non-exhaustive list, but if it can help you, better. First one is consent. Again, we will talk in the rest of the presentation about what means consent and how to define consent when we are in link with multiplicity. But consent can be one thing that make you feel safe. The second is a therapeutic space. So I'm not really into saying that BDSM session or BDSM should be used to replace therapy. I don't think. But I think that what you want to have in the environment of your BDSM could be the same things that you are searching in a therapeutic space. For example, I hope that with your therapist or with your psychologist or with your coach, you feel like you want to be in a space where you're free to express yourself. You want to be in a space where you don't want to be judged, where you can dissociate, where you can switch freely, where you don't need to perform. You can be in a space where you will give and receive for sure. You will be in a space where you will feel respected. And what you search in your therapeutic space should be the same things that you search in your BDSM space. I would like for you to have a space where, again, when you do your BDSM practices, where you feel you can express yourself, your desire, your need, all of these things. You feel that you will not be judged. You feel like you can dissociate freely and switch freely and be a system freely. Where you feel that you will give and receive in the same amount, and where you will feel respected. So think a bit about what you search in a therapeutic space and how this can be copy-paste in your BDSM space. I think that, again, BDSM is something really vulnerable. It's part of yourself, or your sexuality, of your desire, of your need, of your fear, of your shame, of a lot of things. So we want to feel safe to express all of this. And what is the best place than a therapeutic space to do this? Then self-knowledge. So one reason I put self-knowledge is because more you know yourself and more you know your system, more you are able to feel safe, because you will have more information about what's important for you, and actually you will be able to put them in practice. Again, I refer to what I said before. It's not because self-knowledge is important that you need to know absolutely everything about anyone, about everywhere. Just enough for you to feel safe. Then knowledge of your need. So for me, when we talk about self-knowledge, we talk about knowledge of your needs too. I think it's really important that to feel safe, you feel you are able to express what are your needs and what's important for you right now. One of the tools I use in coaching is to have like a paper where you have a lot of words that express needs. For example, comfort, love, being understood, feeling like free, fun, joy. And you can have like this little paper. And sometime during the day, you just train yourself to express these needs to yourself inside the system, or even to your different partners. So that's things that can really help, and maybe that can even help you during a BDSM session. If you're in 24/7, of course, you should put this outside of a sexual session too. Then know how to express one's limits. It's important, I think, to know that when you want to express safely your limits into BDSM, you are able to do it. One thing that I say a lot again in coaching is that when you start to explore BDSM, first explore all the green area. Explore like your need, your desire, and all of this. You don't need to explore your limit when you start. It's good to know your limit because it's good to know where we don't go. But I see a lot of people that I have this limit, I want to explore BDSM, so let's explore my limits. No, again, you have time to explore your limit. Why starting by exploring your limit when you can explore your need and desire first? But it's not because you explore your need and desire first that you should not know some limits you have. The limits can be directly linked with BDSM practices, like for sure, I don't want to do like restriction, for example. But usually a limit, it's more in link with yourself and with your needs. For example, for sure, I don't want to talk about my feet. I don't know. Like this can be something like this. Or just like I don't want to be naked too fast. It can be a lot of things limits and it's not necessarily linked with BDSM practices directly. So think about that. And last one that can help you to define what means safe for you, it's know how to express your desire. Again, the desire, it's not the same things as the need. The need is something necessary. A desire, it's not necessarily necessary, but it's something that you feel like it gives me like this fire inside me. So this desire, feel free to express and to explore them at the beginning of your BDSM practice, more than the limits, but maybe you have some idea of what you desire. Again, if you know yourself really well, you can see that BDSM practices are an extension of what you are outside of BDSM usually. And this can help you to know where to start. For example, if you have one alter of one part that has a certain personality, you can assume that maybe if we extend this personality in a BDSM session, it will look like the desire of this alter. I will give you an example. If you have an alter that is really into fun, joy, curiosity, and playfulness, we can expect that maybe her desire is in link with playful, joyful, and all of these things. If you have an alter that are more feeling sad, feeling like with a lot of trauma, feeling like fear, there is a lot of change that by asking what's their needs, for example, I need comfort, I need reassurance, I need to feel safe. Maybe if this alter is into BDSM, they want to explore a BDSM that it's more in link with these needs too, of comfort, reassurance, and all of these things. And only after we can do the link with what practices can help you the best to fit that. So I hope this little keyword help you to define what means safe for you. Let's continue. Of course, this is a non-exhaustive list. It's just a list to help you do your own list. Good news, many of the points on this list are already in your relationship with yourself and your system. It's just what I told you. A lot of time we can just do like a copy paste of what we see in other area of our system and ourselves and just extend it to the discovery of BDSM. So let's look at some important points right now. Consent for plural people, for system, and this time of the presentation, I think is really important for plural people, but for people that have a partner that is plural too. So if you just want to help someone, or if you are yourself concerned by this situation, maybe you should really listen this part of the presentation. Before extending it for plural people, let's see again some basics of consent for everyone. First things, consent is knowing how to say no, but also how to say yes frankly. When I coach, I see a lot of time people telling me that they don't know how to say no, that a lot of time they had experience where their no were not listened, were not understood and respected, and that right now it's really hard to say no. And I understand that it's a really important topic and skills to develop. Of course, we can do that in coaching or in therapy. But one thing in consent, it's just not how to say no, but it's how to say yes to. Actually, it can be a small tips that can help a lot of people. If you have a hard time to say no, you can ask yourself, okay, when I want to express this no, actually, which yes I'm trying to express to? For example, if you are in a BDSM session and you want to say no, like I don't want to continue this session, I want to stop the interaction. Maybe you're too afraid to say no, but you can tell yourself, okay, what I want to say yes to. Maybe I want to say yes to cuddle, to alone time. I want to say yes to a pause. I want to say yes to watching a TV show. I don't know. So all the time you want to express a no, you actually want to express a yes too. This is the first link you can do. But in general, even if they're not linked, I think it's really important to develop your ability to say yes where you want to say yes. Because I think that we trust more a person on their yes when they know how to express their no, and we trust more a person on their no when they know how to express their yes. If you are used to say no a lot of time, the day you will say yes to something, the person in front of you will think it's really a big yes, because if it was a no, this person will tell me. And the contrary is true too. If you're used to say yes a lot of time, the day you will say no, the person will be like, oh, for sure this is a no. Because if it was a yes, the person will say yes. So if you have a hard time to say no or yes, and you are this type of person that really want to take care of others, you can remind yourself that you are helping the other one to trust you by saying yes or no, and by knowing what the other person is supposed to do or to be. And this is really helping someone to tell them in a way the rule of how we function. That's one important thing of consent. So you can train yourself starting today. The second thing is that consent is specific and informed. It's on a specific practice. I want to give you a metaphor that maybe you already know about consent. That is the metaphor of the cup of tea. So let's imagine that someone want to give you a cup of tea. You go to the house of someone and she asks you, do you want to drink something? And you say, oh, yes, I would really like a mint tea, please. So you are saying yes to a mint tea right now. So it's specific, it's informed, you are saying your consent. The person come with the tea and you say thank you. You say again a second yes. But you can say no. You can say, I'm sorry, but I don't want the tea anymore. I want it before, but I don't want it now. So that means that consent is removable. It's not because I wanted a cup of tea before that I still want a cup of tea right now. And then if you want it and you drink your tea, the person is not supposed to give you more tea and make you drink it. Like, go, drink your tea, drink your tea. Oh, now it's not a mint tea. Now it's a coffee. Now it's a pepper tea. Now it's all of this. So when you say yes, you say yes to something and not the follow-up of it. If the person wants to step up, that doesn't mean it's because you say yes to the first step that you need to say yes to the follow-up. And this, we have a hard time usually to see it on BDSM practices. If I tell you I'm okay for you to restrict my legs, I'm not saying, oh, because I'm really enjoying the restriction of my legs, now restrict my hand, and now restrict my mouth, and now we're not saying that. We are not saying yes to the follow-up just because we've said yes to the first step. So remind yourself when you have a hard time to work in your consent that you have this metaphor of the cup of tea, and that it's okay to say you don't want tea anymore, and it's okay to say I want just one cup and not a second one and not a coffee. So consent is removable, specific, and informed. Consent is communicated through I will not be able to say this word, the practices. So what I want to say is that consent is something that you communicate during your full session, during your full BDSM time. So here in BDSM, we have one tool that can really help you. It is the tool of safe word and safe gesture that I think should be used more in general in our life, even if you don't do BDSM. So I give you this tool, and please, if you want to use it outside of BDSM, do it. It's really good. So the safe word. The safe word is one specific word that will keep you safe. Usually we use safe word in link with consent, but you have to know that safe word can be used for communicating a lot of different needs. It can be consent, but it can be another things. So let's have an example. The one that is the most famous is the color safe word. So we have green, yellow, and red, like the traffic light. So green, it's here to say, I'm really enjoying what's happening. Please continue. Yellow, it's usually I'm close to a limit. I'm not really in a limit, but you should be aware of this, of I'm going close to a limit, and maybe I even need a pause to think about what's happening. And red, like the traffic light, is like we stop everything without asking questions, we stop everything. Now, this is a common color safe word, things that is using a lot on BDSM, but not everyone use the word for the same signification. And that's good. You should have your own definition of each color. And if you go with new partners, you should explain them what mean each color for you. For example, a yellow for you can mean something different than a yellow for me. A yellow for you can be just like, you can continue, but I'm close to a limit. And a yellow for me can be like, I have no idea what's happening inside me. I need a pause of 15 minutes. Please help me to take this pause. So what I advise in general to my coachee is that at the beginning of each session, even more if you are a beginner or if you are like just a few months, few years into BDSM, it's to take the habits at the beginning of each session to say out loud again all your safe words and what they mean for you. It takes like 5 minutes to say that, but it can really save you during your session. And one thing that is amazing with safe words is that because you define them in advance, it's a lot easier to allow yourself to use them during the session because you know that you have a moment where each person that will be on the session agreed on using this term and agreed on what they mean, and we will not be judged, we will not be like ashamed because we use them, and that's really powerful. Usually we advise that it's better to use safe words that are not related to the word yes or no. Just because the word yes or no have a lot of emotional weight on like link with our experiences on the past. Maybe a lot of people were used to say no and they didn't have their no listened or understood. And today they have the fear of saying no, not just because it means we stop, but because the word itself no have a lot of emotional weight. The same for yes. So you can invent and create the word you want. Just be sure that they are not really close to the word no or yes. Another word that is a lot of time used, it's a word that it's almost a joke. It's pineapple. Pineapple is really far away from yes or no. And for a lot of people, it's a bit strange, the color system. So they choose like pineapple or apple or whatever, or like water or things that they have no emotional attached to them, and they just mean what we define them mean on the beginning of the session. Some other people feel that if the word is too far away from normal meaning, like yes or no, they will not allow themselves to use it. So when I started into BDSM, I had a really hard time to use pineapple because I felt like strange, weird to use a word that has literally no link with anything. So for me, I felt more safe to use the color system, or I felt more safe to use the word stop. Stop is still close to no, but I didn't have especially emotional attached to it, and it still meant something that is close enough to know. So I felt more safe to use it. Again, feeling safe doesn't mean the same things to everyone. So a lot of people will tell you you should not use a word like stop. It's too close to no or yes. But what I want to tell you is that you should use a word that you will allow yourself to use it. If you have the word pineapple, but it's too strange for you and you will never allow yourself to use it, it's not a safe word anymore. So please think about which safe word you want to use and which definition are attached to this safe word. Another thing that is important is to train yourself to use this safe word. So I usually tell people to do exercise to train themselves to use their safe word. Like this, the moment they really need it, they can use it. Again, we will see this later. Let's continue with the safe gesture. So sometimes, even more inside BDSM, we will not feel able to talk in a vocal way. Or because we will do practices that literally our mouth is restricted, or our hand or our body is restricted. Or in another point of view, this can happen even if you are outside of BDSM, sometimes because you are triggered, or sometimes because you feel just not able to, you are literally not able to talk in more psychological way. You can be in a trauma response where you feel completely freeze, or where you are in a sedation mode and you are not able to talk. It can be even the case even more if you are plural and you have a tendency to switch in certain situations and you know in advance that when you switch, you have a hard time to be vocal, or some alter have a hard time to be vocal. That's completely okay, but it's important to know that this risk in advance and to tell yourself that you can communicate your safe word even if you don't have word and vocal word. Before giving you some safe gesture, I just want to remind you that a safe word can be linked with consent, but it can be with any other information. For example, I had a time where I had a lot of chronic pain inside my body, and sometimes I used the safe word just to say to my partner that I had pain. And it was a bit too hard for me to say, like, I have pain, because I felt like I will be, again, not, I don't know how to say in English, but like I will take an attention that it's not good. Oh, she always has pain everywhere. All of this, that it's linked with trauma. So instead of saying I have pain, I can use a safe word just to communicate pain. And it will be one word that it's linked directly with pain. And again, this word can be as easy as microphone. And if I say microphone, that means I have pain somewhere and I want to stop or change the position or the practice. Let's continue with the safe gesture. One of the most known safe gesture is the double tap. Double tap, it's really used in sports. So double tap, it's a red. Usually, if someone double tap, it's just to say, like red, we stop everything, done. This double tap can be anywhere on the body of the other person, on your body, on the mattress, no matter. If you double tap, we stop. One of the things that we don't think about, it's like redirecting the hand of someone. So for example, the hand or something else. We can think in advance, like if the hand is here, we don't feel comfortable with the hand here, like you can feel free to take it and to just redirect it somewhere that you feel more comfortable. Or you can have this movement of pushing the person. So again, for some people, it can be really hard to allow themselves to push the person. For some other, it's better. It's like even more natural, but will feel like judged and ashamed of doing it. So if you know that it's a way for you to communicate your like safe word and how you feel free to say again in advance that it's one of the way you communicate. If you say to someone in advance, if I don't feel comfortable, I have the tendency to just push you or to redirect you. Once it's the moment to use it, you will feel more free to use it and you will not close yourself to do it because we agreed before. So we know it's okay. Another safe gesture that can help you, it's actually not a gesture. It's really, even if your hands are not available, it's possible. We can use the triple sound that I advise a lot of coaches to use. So even if you have something in the mouth, you can use it. It's simply quite strong. If I do 3 times this sound, that means something's happening. I need to communicate verbally, or if I cannot communicate verbally, please just stop the session and we will talk about it later. So this is really, really good when you are not able to talk or you are not able to move your hands. And other things, but that's more for people that do practices where the only things you can move, it's your eyes. It's possible. Of course, a lot of time you still have the that is available, but sometimes it's too much effort. I know, again, as a person that dissociates, sometimes creating this sound when I am in a switch or when I'm dissociating, it's too much effort for my body and I'm not able to do that. But one thing that I am able to do is to move my eye. So one thing that a lot of people do is just blink really fast and a lot of time, like voila. So if you do that, usually on practices that your partner is really aware of you and is really looking at you, if it can be like dangerous practices, you can communicate with your eye. And if you start to blink, 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 your partner will just understand something bad's happening. Even if we don't know what, it's okay. We just stop and we give the opportunity to communicate if we can. One thing that is linked with dissociation itself, it's a tips that I use when I switch or I dissociate and my body is paralyzed. It's really sad, but I know that a lot of system or DID people or plural people have this problem, is that sometimes the body is almost paralyzed. One thing that I realized is that when my body is almost paralyzed, I can still decide which finger touch which finger, because my hand cannot really move, but I can still decide if this finger touch the thumb or if it's this finger that touch the thumb. So I have this communication system with my partner that if these two fingers touch each other, is that even if I'm paralyzed or something strange happening, I'm okay. But if I change with the other finger, it means I need help. And I need help can be anything else you define in advance. It can be like calling another alter, trying to trigger the alter positively to help the system to come back in the body. One thing that is linked to that is that if I need help with my partner, we have the tendency to try to write. So if I do something like that with my hand, if I try to move my hand, that means I want to write. And it's the only things I can move in my body. So if we have like a pen and piece of paper, he will just give it to me and I will try to write what I try to communicate. For example, call Debora, the alter Debora, call Ellie, call Leah. And he will try to trigger positively this alter to help me. I will have something to write. If I don't have a piece of paper or a pen, he will just put his hand like this. And with my finger, I will try to do each letter. C-A-L-L for call, D-E-B-O-R-A for Deborah. So this can be another thing that can help you to feel safe. No matter the situation, here I talk about BDSM, but please feel free again to use the safe word and to use safe gesture in your life everywhere. I hope this part of some basics of consent for everyone really help everyone. Now let's continue on the specificity of consent in systems. I already gave you a lot of tips in link with systems, but we'll go a bit deeper right now. First, take into account disagreement in practices and relationship between alters. Not all alters are required to engage in BDSM, even in a 24/7 relationship. Not all alters have the same desires. So what I want to tell you here is to remember yourself that it's not because one alter wants something, wants a certain type of dynamic, wants a certain type of relationship, wants a certain type of practices, that means all the alters should do the same. It's not true. We should have consent between alters too, and it doesn't remove some legitimacy. Because, for example, a lot of people that want to go in 24/7 think that if one alter is in 24/7, but when they switch, another alter is even not into BDSM or it's not on 24/7, so we are not legit anymore to be in 24/7. That's not how time work for systems that have like this type of switch or amnesia or all of these things. The 24/7 is in link with the alter that is here. If one alter or many alter doesn't want to do some practices or some relationship dynamic, it's okay. We don't have the same desire. We are like almost 40 alter on our system, like I said, 15 that we really know. And there is only 3 of them that are into BDSM dynamic and only 2 of them that have a 24/7 relationship. And when the other one comes, my partner understands that's it. Like you're not into that. So why I will use the same rule? It makes absolutely no sense. And I hope that the partner you are with understand that too. Update your partner on your system. Take note on your progress. Talk about it in therapy without judgment. What I'm telling here is that we have our full life to explore BDSM, to explore our desire, to explore our system. And it's normal that we will have some change. Like we will grow, we will evolve, and things will change. And if things change, it's okay to update people that are with us in a relationship. And of course, I think about our partner, but I think about your psychologue, your coach, or even other alter. Sometime from one day to the other, you will not have the same desire anymore. And you're not strange for it. It's not because you are into BDSM that you should want all the time the same things. No, things change. And look at it. Like me, I'm in 24/7 relationship. I'm like a slave in a master slave dynamic. Maybe in 2 years, I will not even be into BDSM anymore. And that's okay. I would update my partner in this desire too. So feel free to do it without judgment. This is the part that it's a bit hard. I remember like 2 years ago when I did this live in French, it was the part of the live that was a bit hard for a lot of system because it's the things we don't want to hear and to listen, but it's really important. Consent is learned intra-system too. So through exercise, through the application of consent in your communication and functioning. We are here saying like consent is important. I want people to respect my consent. I want to respect the consent of others. I want to blah, 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 blah. But when we talk about ourselves and our system, it's okay to not listen the consent a lot of time. For example, one alter have access to some memories and the other one is trying to force to have access to these memories too. And the alter, your brain is saying, no, you should not remember this. And you are forcing into it. You are forcing, forcing, forcing. This is not consent. You're actually forcing yourself. So when someone tell you no, and this someone can be an alter, a partner, yourself to someone else, can be your brain, you say, thank you. If I tell you, no, you cannot have access to this memory, you say, thank you. Thank you to protect me. Thank you to help me to trust your no. Thank you to help me to trust your yes too. Because the time you will give me access to some memory, I will know that I am ready for it. Another example, it's not respecting different communication between alters. Oh, these two alters, they are really friends and they are always together. Me too, I want to be part of these things. So I will go force this relationship with alter that we don't have the same relationship. Or the contrary, I see this a lot in system. Maybe it will talk to you too. We have like a persecutor and one alter in the system that is close to the persecutor and is saying like, yeah, but maybe you're a bit too harsh with this persecutor. Maybe you should understand this persecutor. Maybe this persecutor is trying to help you, or I don't know. And the other are deciding, no, the relationship everyone should have with this persecutor is this one. And I don't mind about your consent. I'm not saying that what you should do is this or something else. I'm saying it should be important to think about consent in this type of situation. So we are not here to impose relationship. We are not here to access memory too quickly. We are not here to decide for other alter. We are here to listen. We are here to respect the no of other alter. So here I say that we can train ourselves through exercise. One thing I am doing with my coachee is to do them exercise to receive the no of certain alter. So one little game that you can do with yourself and with some alter is to give one topic and to talk and question about this topic. I will give you an example. We will say like, let's talk about the years 2010. So the first alter is like, in the year 2010, this happened, and you question. And you question until the alter tell you, no, I don't want to answer anymore. Or no, I don't feel comfortable to continue this conversation. This is an example of topic, but the topic can be like politics if you want, okay? And it's the same in the contrary. So we can do this type of exercise of training consent inside our system too. And you can even like ask your partners to help you to train this. You can even ask your therapist, your psychologist to do this type of exercise with you. Another exercise, this it's more like for system that are able to touch the body or the external appearance of alters in the inner world. So imagine that you have two alters in the inner world and they will do exercise in link with touch and consent. So the first alter will start to touch the hand or one part of the body of the other alter and ask, do you feel okay? Yes, I feel okay. Is that okay if I continue by touching your arm? So you see, I say specifically what I will do, the cup of tea. Yes, it's okay. Touch the arm. Do you still feel comfortable or do you want me to remove my hand? I still feel comfortable. Okay, thank you. Can I touch now your neck? Yes, you can. Specific. Again, I touch your neck. Do you still feel comfortable? No, I don't feel comfortable. I remove the consent. Okay, I remove. And I say, thank you for your no. And you can train yourself in the inner world too about consent. And probably when this alter will go out on this world, they will feel more comfortable to say no or to say yes because they will have the train with the other alter and they will see that saying no can be accepted, can be respected, and sometimes can be even fun to say no. It's not necessarily something really heavy. So if you have any other idea and there is a way to communicate them between each other in this audience, please feel free to remember where you should maybe increase the consent inside your system. Don't assume that certain alter will never come to your session. For example, I think here about the trauma alter or little. A lot of time we think like this alter will never come inside the session, or because the session will never trigger them. They even don't care about sexuality. They should not care about sexuality. Yes, because we have the tendency to decide for other alter what they should care of. And that's a bit sad. Actually, never say never. If you explore BDSM your full life, statistically, there is a big chance that one time, one alter that you were not expecting will come. And it's better to have prevention than cure. It's to tell yourself, okay, I know this can happen. What we will do, what's the structure, what's the system, what's the protocol we will do if this happens. Can be a protocol you put like with your partner, can be a protocol like intra-system, could be just a protocol with the alter that was not supposed to be here. And this can be a good prevention in amount inside in the inner world. To talk with the little, to talk with the trauma holder and to say, look, we are doing like BDSM practices. I will not give you all the detail because that's not necessarily what you need to know. But if one day you come and you just don't feel comfortable with what's happening, be sure that you can express it. You should not feel shame. You will not be judged because you are little and you came. You will not be judged because you are a trauma older and you came into the session. The only things we want to be sure is that you are safe. And to be safe, you just need to make sure that we understand you are here and we will take care of you. I will give you an anecdote of a little coming inside the BDSM session that happened to us. Nothing dangerous happened, but just for you to know, it's a trigger warning. So if you don't feel comfortable, please skip. One day, I remember we were testing for the first time in a BDSM place, like club with other people. And one day during a session with my partner, we tried for the first time to put plastic around the full body. It was in link with degradation, with humiliation. So we were not expecting a little to come because little in our system, at least, are not into degradation, humiliation, or all of these things. But one thing that we were not expecting is that this plastic feeling all around the body was feeling really cocooning, was feeling really like, oh, it's like a big hug. It's so comfortable. And because it's so comfortable, Little came and felt like, who is hugging me so strong? We were not expecting a Little to come. Of course, when the Little came, she just said, like, she's here. My partner saw it directly. And just like with like zero shame, just say like, oh, hello. I was not expecting you to come. Like, what are you feeling? I feel like a really big hug. Okay, good. Do you want to just stay inside this hug or do you want me to remove it? I have the scissor to cut it if you need. Now I will continue with this hug. What's important here is to see that at the beginning it was a BDSM practice. But one BDSM practice doesn't mean the same things for everyone, neither for every alter. So sometimes a BDSM practice for one alter, for one person, it's not even linked with BDSM or sexuality. So we don't need to sexualize it when the alter is coming. It's what my partner did. I didn't sexualize it at all and just say it was a big hug with plastic. Who cares? And like this, the person feels safe to feel what she was feeling. So just to remind you, one practice is not linked with unique signification. Everyone do practice, even BDSM practice for any reason. And sometimes it's not even sexuality because any practice can be linked with anything, even not sexuality, even not BDSM. We can expect alters that were supposed to not be expected to come. And it's not necessarily a bad experience. It's not shameful. It's just something to know and to take care of it. So I hope this helped you too. If it happened to you, it's normal. Let's make sure that we will not do that. Like it will not be a taboo and we just know how to take care of it. Let's continue. And like this is the last part of this presentation. I hope that until now you really enjoyed it. We will talk about maybe the most touchy subject. It's the place of trauma in your BDSM. The first things to know is that you have the right to have a pleasant, fulfilling sexuality, even if you have experienced trauma. This is one subject that, again, is really taboo, is really touchy. It's to think that because we had trauma and even more sexual trauma, we are not allowed to have pleasant and fulfilling sexuality. I hope this is not true, because if this is true, that means a lot of people will not have access to a fulfilling and pleasant sexuality. So don't feel weird. Don't feel that it makes you a less legit victim of aggression, of sexual trauma, because today your sexuality is pleasant and fulfilling. I went through this too. And I know that we have this challenge. It's like an internal challenge. It's with the pressure of the society to say that a real victim of sexual trauma will have horrible sexuality until the end of their life. No, what makes you a legit victim of sexual trauma? It's the moment that that happened. And what we do about this trauma later in the future, in your present right now, doesn't remove any legitimacy of what happened to you. So feel free to take back this right, that is your right, that you can have a pleasant and fulfilling sexuality. So let's look at some important points. Some basics about trauma. First one, it's learning to make peace with the idea that your desires do not necessarily come from your trauma, but also that your desires necessarily come from your trauma. I wanted to have like this type of sentence because I think they're really good to nuance what's happening. When we have desire like BDSM, we tell ourselves that BDSM is strange, it look violent, so for sure it comes from our trauma. There is a lot of other reasons that you can be attracted to BDSM. And for this, we just need to understand how identity is created. And if you have any plurality, maybe you know a lot about identity and how identity is built. And identity is built through experience that, of course, can be negative, like trauma, but that can be positive too, like a good moment on the beach with your friends. And when you create your identity, when all these alters were created too, they're created with all this amount of information, all the experience of your life, all the belief of your life. And you can imagine the amount of things that it is. So maybe it's a bit of a restriction to just do one link. Like, oh, you like to have like whip, and to have pain with whip. So that means for sure it's linked with the trauma where you had pain in your body. That's really reducing the reality of how things we enjoy are created. I will give you an example. Maybe it's even easier. Imagine that today you're really into like shibari. You really like the rope around you. You really like the suspension. You really like this feeling of big hug. You can think like, this is directly linked with the time in my life that I felt stuck and that I couldn't do anything I wanted. And I wanted to be free and to have the friend I want, but I was stuck in my house with my horrible parents. And that's it. That's one interpretation. But another one can be like, shibari really make me feel connected with someone. When I do shibari with rope, I really feel that someone is really hugging me and taking time for me, sometimes even hours, just really conscious about what my body feel, and I feel things around me. And this reminds me the time in my life where I was a lot more connected to my body, because it was a time I was doing a lot of sports. It was the time I was massaging myself. I was maybe doing meditation. And all of this combined, all of this experience combined, result today to me enjoying that. So I'm just telling you, it's not because it look the same that the link is that easy. But at the same time, your desire necessarily come from your trauma too. What I mean here is that everything you like in your life, everything you believe, everything you value are linked with your identity and your identities. So we learned this in the DILS pyramid in coaching. It's one of the tools that we use to explain what's linked with the identity. And we will have the identity at the top of these pyramids. And we see that when we have a certain identity, it will have an impact, a consequence to your belief, to your value, to your capacity, and to your behavior, and to your environment. But the contrary is true too. Your environment will, in a way, define what type of capacity you will have, what type of value, what type of belief, and what type of identity you develop. So imagine in your life you were in an environment where you never felt really loved. So maybe if you were in an environment where you never felt really loved, you will not have the capacity, the skills to know how to feel loved, how to receive love. And because you didn't develop these skills, you will have this belief that no one will ever love you. And because you have this belief, you will have a value of loneliness. You think that loneliness is the most important and then the most protective things. And because you will have this value, you will think, my identity, it's the girl that is always alone. If I grow with this identity of the girl always on the corner, always alone, I can expect on the future to develop my value, my desire around this identity. And maybe when I will extend this into the BDSM, I will start to see that I have desire of being like degraded, like humiliated. I want to feel someone that is pushing me away and that I resist and I am a bit of a brat and all of these things. And I will maybe enjoy it. I feel it will maybe heal even a part of me, or just I will enjoy it. And maybe it's not linked with the trauma directly, it's linked with the identity that were created. So, of course, your desire is linked with your identity, and your identity is linked with your trauma, but not only. This we do it a problem only when we talk about BDSM, because BDSM look violent or like not healthy, like things like this. It's a bit of a cliche. But I'm just telling you that if we had the same thing outside of BDSM, we will not find this weird or not healthy. If, for example, you are this lonely girl and you develop a really big passion about reading books all day and dreaming and writing even a book, and it comes from this feeling of you are the lonely girl that nobody will ever love, so you start to write like romantic books or you are really into that, people will think, oh, this girl is amazing because she or they are just like loving books and it's good to read and it's good to want to write a book. But when we'll create other things in link with BDSM, we do it necessarily something wrong. So I'm just telling you, yes, your trauma will define your identity, but it's not just your trauma that will define your identity. And yes, your identity will define your value, your belief, and of course your desire in BDSM. But again, it's not that simple to just like do this link. So maybe start to make peace with this idea. Next thing, it's learning to make peace with the idea that having similar practices does not necessarily mean that you are reproducing your trauma. For example, violence. I will do again here a trigger warning of practices that can look like trauma. So I'm talking here about abuse, sexual violence, and violence in general. So if you don't feel comfortable to talk about this topic or to hear about this topic, please just skip. For example, we have people that like physical violence inside BDSM. And we are thinking that if they like physical violence inside BDSM, that's necessarily linked with the physical violence they lived inside their trauma when they were maybe younger. Because if you had someone that hit you, of course, if today you like to be hit, that's in link with your trauma. Again, for all the reasons I gave you before, now you understand that it's not necessarily linked. And I want to tell you too that even if it was linked, the link itself doesn't mean it's something bad. The link itself can be something more like taking back your power or doing it today in an environment that you like, or just your body enjoy it and you cannot decide what your body enjoy. I want to tell you that you have a lot of way to cope with trauma. And one of these way, of course, it's to freeze, to fly, to fight, to phone. A lot of these things are really good to help you during a trauma. But another thing, it's like your brain have this capacity to, how can I explain that? Let me give you an example one more time. So imagine you are having like physical violence from your parents when you were younger. One of the things that you can do is, for example, to freeze and to dissociate and to just make sure your body is not feeling it and it's better. So your brain will tell itself like, this is something dangerous, this is something that we don't like, we should dissociate and not feel our body. Like this, it will just go faster and we protect ourselves. Thank you, brain. You're amazing. But another thing that your brain can do too is, I think there is a chance that this will come back in my life because I understand that the environment I am in right now, it's not safe and that I am hit a lot of time. So if I'm hit a lot of time, what I can start to do is to associate this pain with pleasure, like hormonal pleasure, pleasure with like endorphin, like dopamine and a lot of things. That doesn't mean you will have this hormone directly during the trauma. Just saying that there is like a little idea in your brain that it's saying, if I transform this into something pleasant, I will have an easier time to protect myself because I will transform this into something that it's hard and that is a trauma to something that I can actually live without making too much bad feeling and things like this. So if your brain one day did this shift, you cannot be mad at it. It's one of the best way to protect yourself. I think it's amazing that brain can do things like this and bodies can do things like this. They literally help you to go through a difficult time of your life. So if they help you through hormones, through feelings, and today you still have the impact of this good hormone of dopamine, serotonin, and all of these things while you reproduce sometimes pain, it's amazing. Like our brain and our body are amazing. So just remember yourself that you didn't choose it. Your body and your brain choose for you. And again, probably for a good reason. But also that there is a chance that you will reproduce your trauma. Having follow up is essential. Just because, again, your body can enjoy it, or just because sometimes we are not lucky and we reproduce without even realizing it, it can happen. That's why we want like aftercare. That's why we want to have a professional that help us. That's why we want a safe environment. It's to say that if this risk exists and if it will happen, and again, statistically, if you do BDSM your full life, it will happen one time. We just know how to take care of it. So again, it's better to prevent than to cure. And like in the rest of your life, you learn to protect yourself and to put yourself in a safe situation. So you will do the same into BDSM. One other basics about trauma is to learn to make peace with the idea that your BDSM is not a place to explore and relieve your trauma, but also that there is supposed to be everything to promote this, like the therapeutic space that we talk about, and that it will potentially happen. What I'm saying here is that if you do things right, and that you have a BDSM place that look like a therapeutic place, it's normal that alters and your brain will feel safe to maybe relieve a trauma or integrate a trauma as part of your DID or system or plurality. And like we will do in a therapeutic space again, sometimes when you go see your psychologist, you have these things that happen even without you wanting, just because the place is safe and that the brain is made in a really good way. So it will associate. Like if it's safe, that means it's a safe place to integrate. It's a safe place to relieve. It's a safe place to explore if you want it or not. So make peace with the idea that your BDSM is not a place for that. Like it's not the goal, but because you do things right, it will probably happen. So what to do with this awareness around trauma? Make them aware. I'm not sure I wanted to say that. And put as many resources around you as possible to be safe and explore healthily. Here, it's a big introduction about how to do BDSM for plural people. And we saw a lot of things. We saw things in link with being healthy, safely, consent for plural people, trauma, and how to take care of all of this. And awareness and education is the first step to make sure that you can start or you can continue your BDSM exploration in a good way for you, for your partner, but it's just one step. More you continue to be aware of things, more you will educate and have information about things, and more you will be ready to continue. But again, you don't need to know anything about everywhere and things doesn't need to be perfect. Just enough. All we saw today, it's enough for you to start in a healthy way. But of course, take the time to explore healthily, take the time to put as many resources as you can. And I hope you will have a good exploration into BDSM. That's it. I really hope that this presentation helps you, that you enjoyed it. If you have any question, you can, of course, take contact with me by mail or directly on my website, simplementdebora.com. For now, my communication online and on the social media are more in French, but of course, I can answer to you in English in any space. If you are a French speaker person, you can have all of my content in French in Instagram, Telegram, in my newsletter, in YouTube too. But if you're not a French speaker person, I will do my maximum to create a link in English just for you to put your email and have notification when I will start to do more content in English. In all case, if it's with me or with someone else, I hope that this presentation will help you to continue to want to explore safely and to maybe ask for a professional help to do it safely. If you want to do it with me in a coaching or in any other form, again, feel free to ask. If it's a no, we will say thank you. And if it's a yes, we'll say thank you. We will learn consent maybe together. So I will leave you here and I hope you will enjoy the rest of the Plural Positivity World Conference. And I will leave you here. Bye bye.